Channel. This is Issues with Toddy One Skip, and this is Toddy One Skip. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you again for allowing me to be part of your day. So I just got out of the shower. I've got to go to work early tonight because we're expecting a little bit of snow, and a little bit of snow where I live could make it really hard for me to get to work. So I haven't been to bed yet, so pardon me. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about something now. This is not going to be popular, so I just want to put that out there. And it's not because I'm overtired. I've thought about this, and I want to run it past you guys. And just tell me, do you really think that I'm crazy, or do you think that there might be something to it? Listen, I know that Gypsy Rose Blanchard was a victim. From my understanding and from everything I've read, she had to have 2 surgeries when she was younger. Those surgeries were supposedly legitimate, had something to do with an eye, and I want to say something in her throat. And from my understanding, it's because of the attention that Dee Dee, Gypsy's mom, got from those 2 surgeries that made her manifested that Munchausen syndrome by proxy. So, but what happened as Gypsy started getting older? What happened with getting things that, you know, like the free house, the trips to Disney World, the Miranda Lambert concert tickets, all of that stuff? What about all of that stuff? And what about Gypsy getting older? Do you think it's possible that Gypsy was in on the grift as well? Because when she knew she could walk. There are certain times she did walk. There are certain times she jumped around on a trampoline. So, some of the surgeries Gypsy got, right? Some of the surgeries we don't know if Gypsy got. So maybe there was something going on with some doctors, an insurance scam. Maybe. Maybe she didn't have all of the surgeries that supposedly is written on paper. Maybe. But also, as Gypsy got older and was online, because we know she was online, she met people online. She ran away twice, right? As a matter of fact, didn't she pick up a BB gun that she thought was a real gun and shoot her mom 10 times to the point that her mom had to go to the emergency room and come up with some weird story? Do you think as Gypsy Rose Blanchard got older that perhaps the tables turned a little bit? That perhaps maybe Dee Dee was the victim as well? We only have Gypsy. Everybody says that Dee Dee went way out of her way, that there was only love, that she was overprotective, that she was this, that she was that, right? We only have Gypsy's word on how bad her mom treated her. I'm not saying those surgeries were, no. I'm talking now about some other abuse. Like the physical abuse that Gypsy says that her mom put her under. And it was because of that, right? That she wanted her mom done with. And that she planned the whole thing. It was because she wanted to get out from under her mom's thumb. That's what Gypsy says. But is that really the truth? Or is it possible, is it at all possible that because of everything that she's been through, and she wanted to live her own life, that maybe another tragedy where Gypsy would be the only surviving one, which is what happened. The only thing is that they got caught. Has anybody thought that perhaps as Gypsy got older and started wanting more independence, that maybe the tables were turned and perhaps the victim was Dee Dee at the end, before the death? Maybe there was a few years of Dee Dee being the victim at the hands of Gypsy Rose. See, my problem with Gypsy Rose is that I don't believe her. My problem with Gypsy Rose is that there wasn't any remorse in being done with her mom. So I don't understand that. And I'm not saying the Munchausen by proxy. I'm not saying that that doesn't make somebody sick in the head. I'm saying that I don't think Gypsy Rose should be out, and I don't think she should be out of prison. There's too much that just doesn't make sense. And we're going to watch some clips. So, this is from Kyla, who I just found while I was doing research on Gypsy Rose. And what she did was she has done some response videos of some people that she's watched, and I found it really informative. So let's see. Let's listen.
My mom was in prison with Gypsy Rose, and I made a video about 2 years ago basically interviewing my mom, asking her questions about like how she thought, what were her first impressions of Gypsy Rose and everything like that. And that video is getting a lot of traction right now. First of all, we live in Missouri, and my mom was in Vandalia prison. Gypsy Rose was in Chillicothe, but because in Missouri there are only 2 women's prisons, it just seems like everyone filters through Vandalia, and some get moved over to Chillicothe and some don't. My mom never moved over to Chillicothe, but Gypsy did shortly after going through Vandalia. And this is all real. This is all true. Like, I don't know why I would be making this up. You can go look at the video from 2 years ago, because so many people are like, that's Chillicothe, Texas. You're not talking about... Guys, yes. Now, regardless of all of that, my mom said that she thought Gypsy was lame. And I'm not paraphrasing, those were her exact words, and you might be on the other end of the spectrum. And honestly, no one is saying it, so I'm just gonna say it. I do not think that we should be giving Gypsy Rose as much attention as we are by paying attention to her as much as we are. Now, I am not a judge, so I don't personally have enough education to decide if she is fully like reformed or if she did the time that she should have done. I don't think that our legal system is like the best, but I know where my abilities lie, and in the justice system, I'm out, you know? But I've noticed some other people feel the same way as me, where like, I don't really know if she should even be out, but she is. So I hope that she's reformed. I hope that she's learned. I hope that she has grown. But there are some things that I have seen that have just concerned me. And it's also totally fine if your opinion differentiates from mine. I just genuinely don't see anyone else talking about this side of it, like, and how they feel on the other side, because it just gives me a really off-putting feeling in my stomach. My mom wasn't just in there with Gypsy, you know, she was in there with Alyssa Bustamante and Diane Staudette as well. Prison's prison, and there's only 2 in Missouri. So of course all the most infamous, notorious women serial killers are going to end up in the same prison. When it comes to Gypsy's story, I understand like that Munchausen by proxy is a thing, and that she was poorly, horrifically mistreated. And I genuinely have so much self-awareness, and one of the most empathetic people I know on this planet. With that being said, is murder one of those mistakes that we forgive? Is someone ending someone else's life something that someone can come back from? In all regards, in all aspects? Because if so, there's a lot of other cases we need to be looking at. Another thing, I had a horrible childhood, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys all about it. I've been through a lot at the hands of my mother, and at no point ever in any of those circumstances and situations, even the time we got kidnapped, did I think my mother's life needs to end. And they talk about how sheltered she was and how she didn't know anything of the outside life. Then how did she know how serious murder was? How did she know that what would get her mother to stop was murder? I have a lot of questions, and seeing this newlywed game with her and her husband is not answering my questions, and it just feels inappropriate to me. Does anyone else feel like it feels...
So guys, it's inappropriate. So apparently that woman that was talking has her own YouTube channel, and she was talking, I guess her mom is in prison, and her mom has met, or at least crossed paths with Gypsy Rose when she was incarcerated. But here's the thing. It was the way her mom was murdered, right? Like, it was so brutal. And if you remember, like, she heard it, and then they had sex afterwards. Like, that is just, And that's why I don't think it's impossible for this behavior to have been going on for some time. You have to remember, she knew how to get in a car and get somewhere. She knew how to get on a bus. She knew how to buy tickets for something. Because when she ran away from home, she knew where she was going. She knew how to get online. Why didn't she go to the police? Why didn't she tell somebody? I mean, the only thing that really makes sense to me is that she benefited from everything and then thought, well, how do I keep it all to myself? Or what am I supposed to do with my mom? Or I want to have my life with somebody now. You know what I'm saying? I think that there's a lot more to this. And I'm going to hear you're victim blaming. There's more than one victim here, and again, I know that you guys got pissed off when I brought up Manson, but Manson didn't commit those murders that he was doing time for and that he did life for. He manipulated people. He masterminded it. And if you look into his history, he was abused too. I mean, everybody's level of abuse it's just as important to that person and just as damaging to that person that is experiencing it, that doesn't know when it's going to end. So it's kind of relative in that sense. When Charles Manson was getting it, and listen, I think he could have done the death penalty. I don't have a problem with that. But I'm saying, why did he get that sentence and Gypsy Rose got 8 years? Has no remorse for what she did with Nick Godejohn. I mean, come on. That guy wasn't he has even said that he didn't want to do that. So I mean, I just feel like there's so much more to it. And let's listen more to it. Let's listen more.
There's just a lot going on in the world of Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
I changed my opinion on the Gypsy Rose situation in less than 24 hours. Let's talk about it. I used to stan her and be like, yes, queen, like every single one of you do. I watched the act. I felt so bad for her, and she's a hero and a victim and this, that, and the third. Not anymore, babe. Yes, she is a victim. She went through some stuff that she never should have been through. She deserves to get out of that 100%. However, if you actually do some research and watch her interviews, she's not a good person. She's a master manipulator, and she learned by the best one there was, her mother. There's literally an interview where she's like, I learned to be the best liar with no conscience, no remorse, nothing, best manipulator from my mother. She learned all her tricks from her mother. If you watch her videos, anytime they ask about her ex-boyfriend, who her mom for her just threw his whole entire life away, has life in prison, she's like, can't worry about that. Her PR team is working hard as fuck. She shuts down the conversation about Nick, redirects the question back to herself, and is like, I can't think about that for my healing and my this and my that, Can't worry about him. I don't want to talk about him. Everyone kept saying, well, he has multiple personalities, which is true. He has the IQ of like a 10-year-old, which is true. Like, all of these things are true, but there's evidence that he kept telling Gypsy, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. And she kept insisting that he does. She manipulated him. And I get there were repercussions when she ran away, like being tied to the bed that one time. However, I feel like there were other routes you could have taken. Like, you didn't want to speak out at your doctor's appointment or anything like that when you found out you could walk and you weren't allergic to sugar and all of these things. And you might be like, okay, well, Dee Dee was controlling, and she would explain it away. She's delusional. She has the brain of a child. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Okay, but she had a laptop, though, that she was FaceTiming Nick on, going on all these Christian Mingle websites, had a Facebook. You couldn't write a letter to the police department or like anybody in the entire world that this is what's going on and explain, my mom is going to say that I don't know what I'm talking about, but all of these medical records are fabricated. I steal for her. I lie for her. She's been making me do this. I found out I don't have all these issues. Here's the proof. And now the media is glorifying her. And she is, again, yes, she is a victim. And that's very sad.
And so now, guys, what do you think? You think maybe there was abuse going on in that home at the hands of Gypsy Rose towards the mom? Because how do you really go to the extreme of that kind of violence? And then, I mean, literally, you got off on it. I mean, that's something very broken that deserved more than 8 years in prison, okay? And here's the thing. Because we've believed one side to the story, one side to the story. Like, there's no possibility in what I'm saying is true. Like, there's no evil in Gypsy that maybe she should be held accountable for, right? Because social media, yes, and everybody has put her on that pedestal that I talk about, that we have no business putting people on. We don't know people. This woman was the mastermind in the brutal unaliving of her mom. When she could have left. She could have left. She could have reported her mom and she could have left. Okay? So we're meant to believe that she was so sick that she couldn't even rationalize. Well, she rationalized things in a way to get out of the house, to find people she wanted to find. Let's listen more.
Victim, because she absolutely is, but this shit is not black and white. Nothing is black and white. And this is a perfect example of how you guys will take something and run with it before utilizing your critical thinking skills. And I need you to understand that this is coming from somebody who experienced an entire childhood of extreme abuse, who's diagnosed with CPTSD. I don't know about you, but despite everything that I've been through, I still would not be able to stomach being responsible for the murder of anyone or somebody's life sentence in jail. Let's get into all the red flags that I'm talking about. Number one, if she had access to a computer and a phone, you're telling me that she didn't even try to advocate for herself in any other way before plotting the murder of her mother? Nick has multiple mental handicaps. He is autistic, he's diagnosed with other disorders, I believe multiple personality disorder, and he has an IQ of like 27, guys. And despite all of this, Gypsy insisted that he do this. She mailed him the knife, she wouldn't let him enter the home until he was wearing gloves. She manipulated this man into doing her dirty work for her, and she was fully aware of what she was doing. And let's not forget that Gypsy was tested and she has no developmental delays. Am I saying that Nick is a good person? No. Do I think that her mother was a good person? Absolutely not. She was also abused and became the abuser, but she still deserved to rot in jail, in my opinion. I will be the first to tell you that I learned all my best tricks from my master manipulator of a mother, and I believe Gypsy did too, but I am also highly sensitive to manipulation because of this, and I've had a bad feeling about Gypsy from the start. Do I believe that Gypsy should not be out of jail? No. I honestly don't even think she should have ever been there. I think she should have been in treatment. But what's strange to me is she denied treatment while in prison. Now let's get into present times. Whenever she's asked about Nick, she essentially says that she just needs to worry about herself, and she shows zero remorse for being responsible for somebody's life sentence in prison, which is wild to me. She also reminds us over and over again that she didn't actually commit the crime, that it was him, putting all blame on him. And anytime her mother comes up, she reminds us all how much she loves and misses her mother, which is so weird to me because I hate my mother with every fiber of my being. And I understand, like, if you wanted her gone, girl, I just wish you would stand on business because I can't fathom why you would miss her. So is this Stockholm Syndrome, or is this her PR team coaching her to say these things to make herself seem more human? And are we forgetting about the Facebook post? Because there was no remorse there, and this shit ain't adding up to me. And then after refusing therapy, she goes on to date so many men and was engaged to somebody else. Now she's married before she even steps out of that jail cell. So it screams to me that she's very unhealed, because it is very common for trauma survivors to seek fulfillment in relationships when they are not healed. And we're all over here applauding her for this, which is crazy to me because she doesn't even know what it's like to live with somebody yet, and you're congratulating her on getting married and committing her life to somebody. She doesn't even know who she is at this point. She's never lived in the real world. And these are things you should know before you commit your life to somebody. And then there's this. I highly encourage that you look up this Facebook page. This is somebody that worked closely with Gypsy and her family for years, who is now providing proof of how Gypsy is manipulative, and also pointing out the fact that Gypsy is still being exploited, guys. Isn't it interesting that Gypsy's stepmom didn't take interest in her before she saw the dollar signs? I just feel like if we are willing to justify murder for Gypsy, then there are a whole lot of other cases that we should be looking at. Personally, I just feel like there are a lot of other survivors of extreme childhood abuse who didn't make the choice to murder their abuser, and I don't understand why we're not platforming them instead. I just think it's super unhealthy that she went from an abusive home to prison where she received no treatment and then stepped directly out into fame. And this is what we're teaching our children to idolize? It's just weird, guys. It's weird. She is a victim. I hope that she gets the help that she needs, but it's just super weird that we're idolizing her.
So she says in this video that Gypsy insisted Nick wore gloves before he entered the home, but it was actually the other way around. And I've never seen anyone else bring this stuff up. And to be honest, I'm actually shocked about it. So before I show you the text about the gloves, let me give you just a little bit of context. So Gypsy and Nick would role play and they were into BDSM. Now, Nick also claimed to have another side of him that he called the evil side or the dark side. And he said that that was the one that would be committing the actual murder on Gypsy's mom. He told Gypsy that when he got to the house that it was going to be his evil side. Gypsy was talking about how she was shaving for him in the bath, painting her nails pink, and gonna wear a nightgown. This was the night before the murder took place. She asked Nick if the evil side was going to do first because that's what she wanted to do first. He then asks if she's letting him in the front door, and Gypsy tells Nick, "Oh, and you may not need to put on gloves because we will sink it," referencing the knife, so that it's never found. And yes, front. He then responds, question saying, "Dear, when he R-words you, he takes all parts of the body, so he'll most likely do anal to you, hun." Then he says he is still going to put the gloves on Dear. She asks if he will put saliva on himself so that she doesn't get traumatized, and he goes on to say that if you obey his evil side, he won't traumatize you. And she says, "I'll listen to him, darling. It's go time. Are you ready? No matter what, I'm yours forevermore." Now, I'm mentioning this because in the TikTok, the creator says that Gypsy insisted he wore gloves, that this is not true. You see in the texts that Gypsy actually tells him he doesn't have to wear them. I believe that she wanted his fingerprints to be left behind in case they were to get caught, so she suggested him not wearing gloves, and that is way more disturbing and messed up to me than anything else I've been seeing anybody talk about. And then I need to mention this as well. You can see them entering a motel after he killed her mom. Gypsy is seen smiling and laughing if you look really closely, and then the next day she films this video where she sounds perfectly content and happy.
Hi, honey. I'm doing it. He's eating a brownie. But later he will be eating me.
But then things change when they get back to his parents' house where he lives. She says in the docuseries that aired on Lifetime that it wasn't what she expected when she got to his home. He lived with his parents, which she knew about, but it was in a small room, and she was judging the appearance of what his room looked like. And she said that she asked herself, did I really trade this life for that one?
It looked the equivalent of a 15-year-old boy's room with a wrestling comforter on his bed. Reality started to creep in my mind, and I thought to myself, is this really what I traded? That life for this life?
When
Guys, like, what does that scream? Trading one life for another life. So, I don't understand how people couldn't see the evil in this person. You know, if you guys think it's okay that she did this, then why wasn't it okay that, I mean, if you give, I know that you guys don't think it's okay, but I think some of you give her like a pardon because of the Munchausen syndrome by proxy that Dee Dee had. Then you got to go back to what Dee Dee went through with her dad and how her dad abused her. And then we got to see if there was something that happened to him. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't. There are you've heard some of these younger people say, I have problems with my own mom, but I would never. That one young lady says that she hates her mom with all the fiber of her being, but she would never. And we all come through shit, childhoods, most of us, right? I only know one person really that had the Leave It to Beaver bullshit, and they're not even that healthy right now, in my opinion. But the truth is, again, we get to that thing about it all being relative. You know what I'm saying? Because anybody's trauma is real for them. How they deal with it is on them. This woman didn't even want help, Gypsy Rose. How did she think that she had it all figured out? She has absolutely no critical thinking. Nobody's helped her with that. And just seems like almost like she used her mom until she didn't, almost like she used her mom until she didn't need her anymore, and then her mom got in the way. And I really do believe that there was abuse on Gypsy's part. And why nobody has thought, I mean, we've all looked at Dee Dee as evil. I don't think Gypsy's any less. Let's listen more, because I got to get ready here to go.
She got on Nick's computer, logged on to her joint Facebook account that she shared with her mom, and posted a status that says that is dead. Now, when Nick initially showed up at Gypsy's house to commit the murder, when Gypsy answered the door, he said that exact same phrase. I find it interesting that she quoted him directly in the Facebook post she made, and also that she said something to the effect of, and I R-worded her sweet innocent body. Now, this gave the IP address of his computer and linked the authorities right to Nick's house. I believe in my heart that Gypsy realized she wouldn't have the freedom she wanted with Nick, so she framed him. I believe she knew that it would track them to his house, and that she thought that she could convince them that she had nothing to do with it. Remember that Nick had a lot of mental issues and Gypsy did not. She believed that Nick would stick with their story and protect her, but if he didn't do that, that, then she never actually committed the murder. She tried to lie to the interrogators at first, but then when she realized that Nick ended up confessing, she freaked and changed her story. I believe that she thought that she would get an accessory to murder charge at the worst of it, but I don't think that she knew that that wasn't in the state of Missouri. I believe that she set this up in this exact manner so that Nick would be the one locked away for the rest of his life and that she would be the one that is free. And that is exactly how it played out, and now she is famous for it. And this is where I get disturbed. It's at her ability to manipulate a mass amount of people into thinking that she is just a victim, and no one can see how she has no empathy at all for what she convinced Nick to do. And another reason why I find this messed up is people say, well, she had a horrible childhood. Have you looked up the childhoods of all the serial killers and murders out there? They have all had horrible childhoods. So where do we draw the line? It's not just that she was a victim of Munchausen by proxy and she felt she had no other way out, so she chose to kill her mom to escape. That's not the story. There's more to it. And the extra facts that everyone is ignoring is the part that makes it messed up. So at the end of the day, she served her time and Nick is serving his, but I think that the public is being manipulated to this day because they simply look at the fact that her mom was a terrible, disgusting, vile person and they believe that she deserved to die, which fine, I'm not mad about it. But no one is looking at what she did to Nick, who is forgotten behind bars. And I believe that he should be in prison for what he did, hands down. He should be locked up. He's dangerous. He also, in interviews afterwards, shows no remorse for what he actually did. And he still talks about how he's in love with Gypsy. Like, he's a very disturbed guy. But I'm still in shock that people don't find it up, which she contributed to in order to get him there, and that she has no remorse for it and still thinks she's just innocent. And I think it's up that there are many other cases where victims didn't do what Gypsy did, but they aren't getting glorified like she is. It's dark to me, and I stand where I stand.
That poor guy. I mean, like, he committed a murder. Wow. So, you know, you almost feel bad for Nick. You know, I feel like he was totally manipulated. I definitely think that. And part of me does feel bad for him. I feel worse for him than she does. How fucked up is that? So guys, what do you think? I'm going to put the link to this video because I found it like very curious. It opened up a lot of like little holes for me and made me think. And this is the video that made me think, wait a minute, maybe for years it was the other way. When I heard that she had picked up a gun that she thought was real and tried to shoot her mother 10 times, like, and the only reason why her mom lived was because it was a BB gun, and her mom goes to the hospital and tells a story to protect Gypsy. So that's the thing that made me say, wait a minute, maybe she was protecting her for a while here. Maybe this behavior maybe it wasn't the way that we thought it was. You know, maybe it was for a while, but maybe the tables had turned. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Yeah, let me know what you think in the chat. I enjoy our chats. I appreciate it, guys. I really do. And if you'd like, subscribe and please share this video. I like talking about Scientology, but I also want to get stuff like this out there because I think it's important. And, you know, I have an interest in topical stuff as well as the Scientology stuff and the true crime stuff, as you know. And that's it, guys. I got to get out of here because of the storm that's coming, or at least, I don't know, a couple inches of snow. I'm such a wimp. Anyway, guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. This is Toddy One Skip. Don't forget, be better today than you were yesterday, but not half as good as you're going to be tomorrow. And again, I thank you so much. Take care, guys. Thanks.